This is the Liaison podcast with Izzy Park, and today's travel show is about a hidden gem tucked into Colorado's rugged San Juan Mountains, where buttery powder, crisp mountain air, and a dramatic box canyon create one of the most spectacular ski experiences in North America. Telluride. Picture this. You're standing at 13,000 feet, looking down into a box canyon so dramatic it almost doesn't seem real. 3 sides of sheer cliff face rise around you like the walls of an ancient cathedral, and far below, a tiny Victorian town glitters in the snow. Buildings painted in deep reds and golds, looking like they've been preserved in amber since the Wild West. You're about to drop into a chute so steep your stomach does a little flip. Fresh powder spraying up around your face, the kind of champagne snow that makes Colorado legendary. And then you realize something that makes you grin like an absolute maniac. Hardly anyone else knows about this line. While the crowds are crushing each other at Aspen and Vail, you've got some of the most spectacular skiing in North America practically to yourself. Let me explain why you need to understand something about Telluride that makes it fundamentally different from every other ski resort you've ever heard of. This isn't a place you pop over to for a long weekend. Getting here requires commitment. It's tucked into southwestern Colorado, surrounded by mountain passes that close when storms roll through. The nearest major airport is hours away. When you finally arrive after winding through endless peaks, you're not just geographically remote. You're stepping into somewhere that feels genuinely separated from the rest of the world. And here's the mad thing. That isolation is exactly what makes it magical. The skiing itself is legitimately bonkers. Over 2,000 acres of terrain, with nearly half of it rated advanced or expert. But statistics don't capture what makes Telluride special. It's the quality of the experience. While other resorts feel like outdoor shopping malls with lifts attached, Telluride feels wild. You'll ski chutes with names like spiral stairs that link together into these technical descents where you're genuinely thinking about every turn. You'll find powder stashes 3 days after a storm because the mountain is big enough and empty enough that the snow just sits there, waiting. What really sets Telluride apart is something you can't measure: the crowd. Or rather, the lack of one. This isn't a place where lift lines stretch for 40 minutes. The difficulty of getting here filters out casual tourists, and what you're left with is people who are properly obsessed with skiing. You'll ride chairlifts with ski patrollers who've been here for 20 years and know every secret line. The culture on this mountain isn't about showing off expensive equipment or looking cool in designer ski clothes. It's about the actual skiing. And that creates this incredible atmosphere where everyone's united by genuine mountain obsession. The town itself is unlike anything else in the ski world. The entire downtown is a National Historic Landmark, actual Victorian buildings from the mining boom, not reconstructed tourist traps. These are the real structures where miners lived and worked, where Butch Cassidy robbed his first bank. Walking down Main Street feels like you've travelled back in time, except the restaurant you're heading into serves world-class cuisine. There's this fascinating collision of authenticity and sophistication. You'll see billionaires standing in line behind ski bums at the bakery, both wearing essentially the same Patagonia uniform, because in Telluride, nobody cares about wealth. What matters is whether you can ski. The box canyon geography creates this sense of enclosure that's simultaneously protective and dramatic. You're literally surrounded on 3 sides by peaks rising thousands of feet straight up. At the far end of town, you can see Bridal Veil Falls, Colorado's tallest waterfall, frozen into this massive column of ice in winter. And here's something brilliant. There's a free gondola connecting the old town to Mountain Village that climbs over 3,000 vertical feet in 13 minutes. You'll ride it over the canyon at sunset, watching alpenglow light the peaks. More after our break.
My name is Tom Sachs. I'm an artist in New York City. For nearly 2 decades, I have been collaborating with Nike.
Nike running is for runners. Nike basketball is for basketball. Nike craft is for everyone else.
Now, the culture here is where things get properly interesting. Most luxury ski resorts have sold their souls. Everything feels corporate and sanitized. Telluride somehow avoided that for fate. The town has this genuine progressive streak dating back to the 70s, when hippies moved into abandoned mining cabins and basically saved the place from becoming a complete ghost town. That countercultural DNA persists. This is a place that legalized cannabis before Colorado did, that fights aggressively against development. You'll notice there are no chain stores on Main Street, no Starbucks, no Gap, nothing corporate. Local businesses only, and they're fiercely protected. What makes the local culture special is this concept of earning your turns. People here worship the mountains in a way that goes beyond casual appreciation. Backcountry skiing is treated almost like a spiritual practice. Powder days are sacred. When a major storm hits, the town essentially shuts down. Workers call in sick, shops open late or not at all because everyone's on the mountain, charging through fresh snow like it's the only thing that matters in the world. These are people who've structured their entire existence around skiing, working seasonal jobs that provide just enough money and maximum flexibility for daily powder hunting. The social dynamics are refreshingly egalitarian. Your typical ski resort has clear hierarchies based on money and status. Telluride's hierarchy is based on mountain credibility. A lift operator who knows every line and has 20 seasons here commands more respect than a hedge fund manager visiting for a week. You'll notice this immediately. The way conversations on chairlifts focus entirely on conditions and routes, rather than what anyone does for work or how much money they have. Let me tell you about the actual skiing experience. The mountain has distinct personalities depending on where you are. The front side offers groomed runs and accessible terrain, perfect for warming up. But the real magic happens when you venture further. The backside terrain, places like Gold Hill, opens into these massive bowls where you're surrounded by endless San Juan peaks in every direction. Up there, you feel tiny and alive in the best possible way. Then there's the expert terrain that makes Telluride legendary among serious skiers. Lines like spiral stairs, a series of linked chutes that require genuine technical skill and courage. These aren't groomed runs where you can cruise. You're picking your way through tight corridors, managing steep pitches, making precise turns because there's no room for error. That's what keeps people coming back. You're not just sliding down a mountain. You're testing yourself against terrain that requires respect. After a massive day skiing, the evening scene is low-key brilliant. You'll stumble into historic bars that have occupied the same building since mining days. There's this bar called the New Sheridan that's been operating since the late 1800s, serving drinks to miners, outlaws, and now skiers. The food scene punches absurdly above its weight for a town of 2,400 people. You've got restaurants serving genuinely excellent cuisine, places where chefs could work anywhere, but choose to be here because they love skiing more than culinary fame. And then you'll wander down the street to a dive bar where ski patrollers are playing pool, and both experiences feel equally authentic. There's live music constantly, proper musicians who live here despite limited financial opportunities because they're drawn to the mountains. More after our break.
Building a new product? Temez Labs takes you from napkin sketch to the App Store. Trusted by Fortune 500s for quality, security, and speed. Book your free strategy session at temez.ai.
Now, let me share some insider knowledge that makes a massive difference. First, the local secret. Skin up Telluride Peak before the lifts open. You'll watch sunrise light the San Juans from the summit, then get first tracks down while everyone else is still drinking coffee. Another secret is timing. Most tourists visit during Christmas and spring break, when crowds peak, but January and February offer the best conditions with fewer people. It's colder, sure, but the snow is incredible, and you'll have the mountain more to yourself. For finding untracked powder days after a storm, pay attention to wind direction. The mountain has aspects that get loaded while others get scoured. Locals watch which way wind was blowing overnight and head to the protected zones where snow accumulated perfectly. There's also this thing locals do called town run. Instead of taking the gondola down at day's end, you ski all the way to the base and traverse through town on your skis, heading straight to bars still in your boots. The real magic of Telluride reveals itself slowly. On your first day, you notice the spectacular buffered scenery and good skiing. By day 3, you start feeling the rhythm, the way powder days reorganize everything, how conversations naturally start on chairlifts. By the end of a week, you understand why people upend their entire lives to move here. It's not just a ski resort. It's a place where mountain devotion is the organizing principle of existence. Standing at the top of the mountain as the sun sets, watching light paint the San Juan peaks in impossible shades of pink and gold, you'll feel something shift. Telluride hasn't been tamed or sanitized. It remains difficult to reach, challenging to ski, and unapologetic about what it is. That's the gift Telluride offers. Not convenience or comfort, but something better. The chance to test yourself against terrain that demands respect. To join a community united by mountain obsession. To experience winter in its purest form. We hope you enjoyed the trip. You can support the Liaison podcast by rating it 5 stars and pressing the follow button. And remember, one's destination is never a place, but rather a new way of looking at things.
Grep News. Thomas.